right.
I'm just start bringing you
All right, everybody good? Except for Jimmy, he's better than we are. All right. Call the meeting to order. Thank you all in attendance. Let's see. We will hear each other's opinion, but ultimately act as one. We will speak candidly and courteously to each other and listen to dissenting or different points of views with an open mind. We will help each other to depersonalize disagreements. Once we reach a decision or compromise as a board, we will each support the will of the board in word and in deed. If you all will join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, my mic wasn't working so loud, I forgot to tell y'all to check yours, so if y'all would make sure they are all working.
Testing.
All right. Everybody's here except Mr. Clay. He had a prior engagement that he could not get out of, so we will move forward with the meeting with him absent. Anything needed to be added to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have something, please.
Yes, sir. Mr.
I
Fox.
would like to have the superintendent to explain to me what happened on Friday as far as this person that supposedly came on campus with a gun and was not given a warrant. And I haven't seen anything else since that, unless something got sent today. I didn't see it. And I did. Did everybody get that email, that text? So everybody got it? So everybody's in the dark like I am, I presume?
No.
It was handed over to law enforcement, and the security report did get forwarded to you all today. And just like with the other reports, the law enforcement has the option, once it's handed over to law enforcement, they decide whether the charges are filed or not. And so once we hand it over to South Boston Police Department, they decide whether there's warrants issued or whether charges are filed.
That's my problem. I don't understand how they get to decide which part of the law they enact, because the law says if you come on this property, you're supposed to be arrested. Was this person arrested?
Not to my knowledge. I mean,
Okay.
we have the police, we have the report from our security, and we have the report from our
So what does the
administrator.
report indicate then? Because the only thing I have is what, Ms. Lake, I didn't get this other part today because I didn't see that on here.
Yeah, it came, the security report was forwarded
Yeah, I'm
today.
gonna look at it.
Yeah, it was forwarded today. That the lady realized once she came on campus, she left the bag outside the school, and that she acknowledged that she does have a concealed carry, that she acknowledged that she did have it. She alerted the security. Security didn't go to her. She alerted security, I do have it, and then they followed their protocol. They immediately notified administration, who then notified the SRO, and he took it upon his jurisdiction to say that there was not ill intent, and he asked the lady to leave the campus. She left the campus immediately.
Well, the problem I have with that is what you just told me is not what was
Yes.
listening.
This is not on the agenda,
I would
That's
agree.
why I'm trying to get it on here.
so you need a motion to add
Well, I'll do that, but if I don't do that, when were we gonna be told about it? If it's not gonna be tonight, when is it gonna be done?
You were told. I sent you a text message, and I forwarded the security report like I do every other time.
What information you just gave us, just then?
Mr. Potts, I'm not withholding information
I didn't
from
say
you all as a
were. I
board.
didn't say you were.
I received all of that information.
I just said you didn't.
It's
I
on the
asked-
report.
I'm asking the superintendent. I'm not asking you about it.
You haven't even read the report, though.
Point of order.
The thing I read the report that Ms. Shotwell sent us, which is contradictory to what you said.
I didn't send anything.
You said-
I did not send, I don't think Ms. Shotwell sent it, I sent it, Mr. Potts.
She sent an evaluation letting us know what was going on at the school Friday.
I did not.
I sent it, Mr. Potts.
I move we approve the agenda as is.
Second.
Wait a minute, so you're just gonna disavow what I want?
You have to make a motion.
I'm gonna put a motion in, but I'm trying to, she started to explain it, she didn't say I needed to put a motion in.
You have to put a motion in to add this to the agenda to discuss
I put a
further.
motion in, so be it.
Is there a second?
I believe that's what the chairman's supposed to say, isn't that?
Is there a second?
Thank you.
All right.
I'm confirmed whether we're covering up this whole incident that took up Friday. Well, don't tell me we not, because you don't wanna discuss it. If you don't wanna discuss it, that tells me you're trying to cover it up. So we can go on with the meeting, okay?
So,
Was that clear enough out there? Was that clear enough for you to hear that? I wanna make sure everybody hears that. They are covering up what happened Friday. Thank you.
so,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'd like to
ma'am.
make a motion to add to the agenda tonight to read and go over the security report from the incident at the high school on Friday.
motion on the floor, can I get a second? I got a second. Any other discussion? All right, that is added. Can we approve the, yeah,
On that.
all right. So all in favor of adding the reading of the security report that was provided, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right,
That will be put in new business, right?
yes. All right,
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
I second it.
all right. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. All right, the amended agenda is approved. Dr. Buckaloo? Give us some good news.
Good evening, everyone. Board Chair Mason, Vice Chair Lloyd, Superintendent, and board members, I am happy to present our preliminary budget for the fiscal year 2025. Everyone should have a packet in front of them that you can follow along, or you can follow the screen as we move through. Next screen. So who we are, we have submitted our comprehensive plan where we address our core values and beliefs, and within those we also encompass all of these core values and beliefs as we go through our budget and shape it for the best interest of our students and staff. The budget proposal follows the annual budget policy DA, where it stipulates that the superintendent prepares with the approval of the school board and submits the appropriating body an estimate of the amount of money needed during the next fiscal year for the support of public schools in the school division. The estimate then sets up the amount of money needed for each major classification prescribed by the Board of Education and such other headings or items as may be necessary. So within the budget cycle, we have passed the fall where we addressed with the departments and all of the schools a needs assessment. The beginning of the winter season, we had our first school board work session where we did our projected revenues for the county. And now we are at the winter of 2024 where we have evaluated and prioritized all budget requests, and now we're putting in this preliminary budget for approval tonight. So the driving principles for when we're building our budget is we look at what's best for students. We make sure we align with the mission, vision, core values, and priorities. We address all safety and legal requirements, and we evaluate every position and line item within that budget. We have been given a governor's proposed budget, a Senate proposed budget, and a House bill thus far. Only the governor's proposed budget has provided us with a calc tool If you recall back to my first discussion, the calc tool is what we use to drive our budget line items, understanding where all funding is coming from. We do have some resources to derive at an early projection of the House and Senate, which is what we are presenting on the next screen. So the state revenues, as you can see, the governor's proposed were $45,282,200. And then the House, and that is your state revenue by itself. That's not including local. So as you read through, and I won't read all the numbers to you, but I will say that we're going to be carrying over some of our Stronger Connections grant because we are using that on specific elementary schools for our security. So we will have funds to carry over with that. So we're projecting $300,000 of that grant. The local revenue is what our county provides for their local match, and that varies by each budget as well. You see that there is a zero for school construction funds. That grant is going to be over at the end of June 2024, so we just put a placeholder in there so you could see that it is dropping to zero. Our federal funds, and we addressed that earlier, has dropped from this year to next year substantially. We went from 13 million to 3 million, so that's an impact on our budget. Food service, that is a standalone revenue-based fund that is self-sustaining, so that one is just a line item in our budget. Then other funds or any of our fees, rents, leases that we bring money in to the division, and we carry that as the same from year to year. So all in all, our governors to our House to our Senate, we have looked at, and I have a green box around the Senate bill because that's the one we'd like to focus on tonight as our best option for our, it's okay, for our choices with the information that we have thus far. So the known facts that we have as far as what are each of these budgets holding, the governor's budget is proposing a 1% one-time bonus, which is just a flat bonus with the FICA that goes with it for our SOQ, and that would be, we would be responsible for all other staff. The House budget is introducing a 3 3/8% compensation salary increase, and that one you have to take into consideration all of the benefits that come along since it is a compensation piece, and that's the big difference between bonus and compensation. The Senate is proposing a 3% flat for the first year of the biennial budget. The General Assembly has released the governor's budget and the House Bill 30, and you can follow along with those on the legislative page, and the Senate Bill 30. The General Assembly is set to conclude on March 9th, and they should have a vote by March 9th. However, the governor has the right to veto that after that point, or he can agree to it. So we are still waiting to know what will happen. But we are due by the end of this week to get our budget into the county. So here we are. We will monitor this as we learn more. And if you recall in the timeline, we will be coming back for a final approved budget in May, or earlier if we have a final. So I also wanted to put out the carryover balance that the school system currently has on the books. Amount from previous years that has built up to $3,976,926.36. The amount confirmed on this past year's audit was $1,895,805, totaling $5,869,731.36. And that is confirmed by the budget audit.
So, Dr. Buckley, can you go back to the slide? I want to maybe help the board understand a little bit as we work through the process a little bit more. And you may wonder why we've moved a little bit further from the last time we met, and we were kind of focused on, all the information we had last time was the governor's budget. Since then, the House budget and the Senate budget have been released, and on good authority, we have folks with, as you all know, with VSBA, with the Virginia School Superintendents Association, we have pretty good authority that let us know that the governor's budget was dead on arrival in the House and Senate, and that they are working very closely together to come with a compromised budget. And so we felt pretty assured on good authority from folks that have sent us spreadsheets. So this isn't a guessing game, the numbers that we put. They have sent us not a specific calc tool, but they have sent us pretty close to as close as you can get to a calc tool based on the House budget and the Senate budget. And so without having that specific, yes, this is your next calc tool, we've gotten pretty close. And what we are trying to avoid is having to put us in a situation where we would have to reissue contracts again next year. Because if we stayed with the skinny budget and a 1% bonus situation, which is likely going to be the least scenario, it looks like there's going to be either a 3 3/8 or a 3% mandatory. So we're trying to get somewhere in one of those scenarios, and that's kind of where we're trying to build. That's where we wanted to kind of be to avoid that situation. So just to kind of clarify how we got there in our building of this next piece. So.
Thank you for that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this encountering the fact that this budget has to be passed by 2/3 majority of the House and the Senate before it can be done, because the governor vetoed it, won't they have to do a 2/3?
Yes, but he's not likely to veto it because will have been done by a crossover committee. They will have come together and done a compromise crossover group. So he's not likely to veto it once it goes through that process. We'll know they finish on March 9th, and they are not predicting that it to drag out to September like it did last year. I think they learned a lesson to hopefully not put folks through that. Now, I could be wrong, but the word coming out of Richmond is that it's not going to be bad like last year.
All right, so that was a little bit about the known revenues and the projected revenues that we've looked at. So now we're going to step into the expenses, and this is where the division has to do its bulk of work. So when you're looking at the projected expenditure decreases, so this is where we have worked to make sure that we are finding operational efficiencies within our budget. And within this, we have identified through staff attrition that under the governor's budget, we can slim $905,000 through positions of folks that are not returning. We also were able to address every position within ESSER. They're either been reassigned or it's a position no longer necessary. We've also identified 5% in both materials and supplies and contracted supplies that we can reduce in the budget, bringing our full decreases down to $1,690,000. And then we were looking at, if we go with the other budgets that are listed, how does that look in difference for us? And with that, we didn't have to slim as much because they're giving us more. So we would have the opportunity to not, we would be able to post a few more teaching positions than what we have identified to not post in the governor's. So as you can see in the Senate proposed, we have 2 admins, 5 teachers, all your ESSERs as our reduction, and then we stuck with the 5% on materials, supplies, and contracted services for a total reduction of $1,280,000. And that stays the same for the House just because of the way that it's laid out. That is just our good faith effort on making sure that we are looking at all of our expenses and making sure we're being good stewards. This is the known expense increases that we've identified. Our health insurance, as the information that we have right now, and Mr. Rosenthal can certainly share a little more tonight, is a 7% estimated increase. Workers' compensation is slated for 5%. We don't have the final document on that yet, nor do we have our final number from VACOR for our general property and casualty increase. But at this point, 5% was a safe number, and that is what we had put in last year, and it came in right around that. In addition to that, we have our school security contract for our SSOs, and that was fully ESSER funded. We need to make sure that we keep the same level of security, so we have put in a division level increase of $1 million. That is for every school to have their same number of SSOs that we currently have. Then we have our longevity plan with Stay with Halifax, Grow with Halifax, that we had met before about with our $600,000 commitment. So our division level increase is $2,072,783, which now brings us to the proposed budget for fiscal year 25. And it is our recommendation that we ask for board approval tonight for the Senate proposed budget of $76,235,657. Within that, we are asking that we request Board of Supervisor carryover monies of $1,597,359 to make sure that we balance this budget. So I have this in front of the board tonight for discussion, and we would like to ask for approval. I will note that we met with Mr. Simpson today, the county administrator, and he has also expressed the same challenges that we have of knowing the budget and getting it from this point to the end point. They are requiring that we submit our budget by the end of this week so that then they can turn in their reports for tax reporting. And then we're actually going to start meeting with their finance committee in conjunction with our finance committee beginning this month. And I think that will be a very good exercise moving forward.
Mr. Lloyd, you have a question?
Dr. Buckley, do you mind going to slide 11, please?
Sure.
I know one of the things we talked about back in the fall, and it was my understanding that that was being tabled for consideration with the budget, was the potential for our coaches within the athletic departments. For example, that would allow us for the football to potentially hold a spring football season, for lack of a word, to work with those coaches. And then baseball would have potentially like a fall baseball. Each sport, in other words, would do something in the opposing season to work with the athletes. And this was somewhat of a compromise based on the coaches' policy restricting them from doing outside activities. I know that that proposal was put in from the athletic department at the high school, and I think it was endorsed by the principal from what I understand. And I know at the time we were told that it would be in this budget cycle, but I haven't heard mention of it yet this year. Can you give me an update where that stands? Is it, my only question is it allowed for under the budget as it's presented?
We did consider all things, and these were our priority list. Given the budget that we are in now, it is not in the priority list, but that doesn't mean that this is our final budget. This is our working projected preliminary budget. I don't think that that's the big enough number that it would impact the budget to where it's a hard no. I'm trying to find the document, because I did put all the requests in here. But there were many, 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 many requests
Wasn't sure.
to the budget. It's about 8 pages long. From all schools and all areas. So I was trying to see if they put the final number in. But given in the situation that we're in currently, our main focus was to make sure that we could balance the budget with the directives from what we're seeing at this point. So it can be revisited, and if Dr. Huskin wants to comment a little further on that, that'll be fine.
Yeah, we didn't add any, so it wasn't like it wasn't like we said we're gonna take this school's request and not this one. We didn't put any new positions, any new requests from anyone in to get to just the preliminary. We were trying to get just the bare bones, and we really have focused on the cuts we need to make first to get the bare bones. And then when we know the number that we're getting from the state and local, then we can go back and say, okay, here's our wiggle room. And we'll go back and we'll ask each school, okay, what's your priority? And then we'll go back through and build back in, okay, what are your top few things that are your priorities? And there were some things that the board has asked that you all have as your priorities. So, I mean, those are the things on the 8 pages that she's talking about.
Do you have a follow-up, Mr. Lloyd?
I do, thank you. So I guess I want to make sure that as one board member, I state what I feel is a priority. I know for the last 2 years, we've discussed, at once we were talking about an overhaul, basically in the salaries for coaches or whatnot, because those same coaches 6 years ago were hit very, very hard with pay cuts. I mean, very hard with pay cuts. And over the years, we talked about trying to make a commitment to addressing those. And I know 2 years ago, we were really working on those salaries. And then last fall, we came up with this idea, and we, basically tasked the athletic director with putting in a proposal. And I haven't seen the proposal, but for those who have, I heard a lot of good comment, a lot of good feedback on that proposal. I would like to find a way. I say this often, to me it's not necessarily about the sports itself, but that's some of these children, that's their best opportunity to go on to a higher education is through athletics. I know if Mr. Clay was here, he would say that Halifax County is known for its athletics, and we take pride in our athletics. And unfortunately, that's one place every year when cuts need to be made every year. That's typically that's an easy cut, it looks like. But I would like to find a way to prioritize that. Again, I'm only one member, but I know those are the comments that we've made to coaches over the years, that we would make it a priority. But as budgets get tight, that's somewhere we always seem to strike first. So I guess my request would be if you could find a way to prioritize that, I would definitely be appreciative of those efforts.
Yes, sir, Mr. Potts. Well, Yeah.
You should have tell me exactly what you had in mind. Was that coming from the school, or was that coming from the coaches on that?
Yeah.
And the second question is, keep in mind, is that why were the coaches cut 6 years ago like they cut?
Okay. Mr. Potts, it was really for all sports. And basically what it was is a way to grow our athletic programs. The proposal was that, and I just referenced football and baseball just as examples, but I'll use football as the best example. Football's played in the fall. Well, what it would do, it would give a condensed season in the spring for spring football, where maybe they get the players together for 2 months to work on, whether it's drills or conditioning or weightlifting or, whatever would enhance the football program. And then baseball, for example, would you'd have a fall baseball season where maybe they play a few games, and more importantly, they get together and work as a team. And the coaches would have the opportunity, let's just say it's, 6 weeks long, whatever that season would technically be. It'd be another stipend for the coaches, but more importantly, it's a way to build the athletic programs. That was the proposal, but it would ring true for basketball or, whatever the sport may be, fill in the blank. But that was the proposal, and if I'm misrepresenting that, Dr. Huskin can correct me, but that's my understanding what the proposal is.
Yeah, and it is definitely on the list, and truly, if either the House or the Senate or some compromise version of that is one of the bills that comes through, then definitely, we will go back to the high school, we'll go back to the schools and have that conversation.
Mhm. Yes, for sure.
Mr. Potts, you had something else?
Oh, yeah, I had two questions on that.
6
I
years.
hear what you're saying, that raises another question. Is that gonna be acceptable by the junior high school league, for us to have like a mini season in the summertime or springtime?
Yes, sir. I mean, I think it's fairly commonplace, and it's not technically a season, but I know baseball, for example, just because I follow baseball more closely, they will often get together and play other high schools in the fall, just to develop the season. And spring football, be very similar to what they do at a collegiate level, where they have, I mean, if you want to call it a training camp, so to speak, or, I don't know exactly how you would want to term it, but it's an opportunity, again, just to grow the program.
We just have to make sure we make it fair between males and female sports and make sure it's equitable and all those things.
Yeah, all
Make sure
sports
it's-
is my understanding. I mean,
We will have to get that approved by VHSL, won't we?
no, it's just additional practice time, basically.
It's conditioning. It's considered part of conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning and practice.
Okay, it's conditional, I heard
Yeah.
that part, that was not the part,
Yeah.
okay. That's my only concern, is that we don't get busted in the head by VHSL,
No.
because, cause you can't start, you can start weightlifting in the spring.
Yeah, and this
We'll
will be.
follow, they're very careful about following the VHSL guidelines.
Mhm.
The second question about the, problem, you said the coach was abusive, you still went out of line, 6 years ago or something? Do you remember when that was all about?
I remember it was shortly, matter of fact, it was immediately before I came on the board. It was one of the first issues that was brought to my attention, and you'll probably recall that it was part of the money was taking away from the coaches, and we used a lot of that money to go back into the meal programs at that time. Which, and again, I'm all for the meal programs, but I just hate to see it come at the expense of the coaches, because when you put the hours that they're working and the pay that they're given, I mean, it's pennies on the dollar that they're actually getting paid for what they do. Especially your outside sports, where they're also being asked to take care of fields. You take the football coach who's doing everything from cutting the grass to lining the field to weed eating to cleaning the stadium. And we're paying him that one stipend. I mean, it's literally pennies on the dollar that he's making.
Since you were here whenever the cut was done, did you get the information on why it was cut?
I do recall the conversations with, at the time, Chairman Gasparini and Mr. Edmonds, and the full board, but those two, I think they were the ones who were leading that effort, from what I understand.
Meaning, that effort to cut, right?
Yes, sir.
But you don't remember what it was about?
I remember the backstory behind it, yes, sir.
What was that story?
Yeah, I don't know if this is beneficial to
Well,
where we're headed here.
because the rest of this board doesn't know. So we made a statement about the money we cut, but nobody knows who's the person that's talking about it. I just wanna see if I can enlighten them on that, because there was a reason for that to be cut
Time sheet.
and do it, not only because of the fees of the kids. There were a lot of kids going to representative school that didn't have money to buy lunches. When they go. And half the time, they end up getting taken care of by either coaches or by other players, and nobody reimbursed them. So what we found out is that our coaches were making a little more money than their compadres in the surrounding area. That's why it was cut. It wasn't cut because we weren't wanting to do that, we wanted to cut that. But the other thing was, it was because they were making a little bit more money than what the compadres around here were making, like the other coaches in this district. Maybe because that's what gas raising and leaving, so that's why that happened. I definitely feel the same way you do, that these guys are waiting like it, but the whole story needs to be told. We won't tell part of it, we need to tell all of it. That's why I brought that little bit of information up. And that's why I wanted to know exactly what we were gonna do, because we talk, how much money, we don't know how much money was, that's just for the high school money?
Yes, yes, sir. I will point out that they are submitting timesheets for time outside of their stipend hours. So currently, we are compensating for time outside of that stipend. And that's, Mr. Saunders submits those to us as needed. And the meal money is continued. We've been doing that as well based on what Mr. Saunders requests. Now, they do have a request in for about $6,000 for JV assistant coaches, but I think that there's a formal letter request as well. There's a little bit more money.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's incidental. That is not a big deal.
Right.
And that
Right.
can be
That's
done-
why I was saying
That
if-
can be
if-
done no matter which budget we adopt. That's
Right.
nothing.
But in the whole scheme of all the requests, I mean, like Dr. Huskins said, we just had to focus on the division priority at this time.
You have something, Ms. Sharp? Ms. Coleman? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. I'm sure this was quite a feat to put together. I don't know if this question is better suited for you or for Dr. Huskins. On slide 10, the staff attrition, the 2 admin, 5 teacher, and the 9 ESSA positions, are those people that are retiring, or where did those positions come from?
Well, it's kind of a combination. They
Yes.
are all over the place, and again, without getting into personnel, a lot of that stuff we'd need to talk about in a closed session environment. But a lot of them are retirement. A lot, when we went through the ESSER positions, some people were, again, I have to be very cautious because we are in open session, but some positions are, just determined that they're no longer needed because they knew they were grant funded and they're just not gonna be refilled. No one is going to lose a job. So people are going to be moved into other positions. So again, let's just be really clear, we're not in a reduction in force situation. If people wanna continue to be employed by us, they will be. But just people are either retiring or moving or doing other things, and we are able to, like if we have an opening, even the 2 administrators, we have openings and people are gonna be potentially transferred to other places, and there'll be options and choices, and just doing some in-house, moving. Some people are in current positions right now. Another thing that we have been really trying to focus on is getting people licensed, and there are some folks in our school division that have had many years to get licensed, and they have not. So they will be getting a final notice that, hey, you've had 5 years or so to get licensed, and your license is going to be, time's up. So some of that is happening. And again, there's just any number of reasons how we've gotten to this number. So that's how we're getting there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were not looking at cutting positions.
No.
We were already struggling.
Absolutely
with
not.
Teacher positions,
No.
that was my biggest concern. I just want that said so the general public's mind can be put at
No.
ease and it's complete transparency.
No, and I just cannot say, I will not say names out front, and I will not actually say positions out in a public thing, because we're, and again, if we get in the Senate or House or some version thereof, we also don't wanna be in a position where, again, I've been in this work for 30 years, and I've been through very, very lean times and fatter times, and you never wanna cut yourself so close to the bone that you can't build back. Because sometimes if we are in this governor situation where we go cutting 12 positions across this school division, I mean, that is a considerable amount of positions, even if you take 1 here, 2 there, 3 there, 4 here. I mean, that's a considerable number of positions. But with cutting the number out of the House and Senate, that starts to match our enrollment a little better, because we are overstaffed in some places. And so we really want to be good stewards of the money that we have. So there's balance in there. There are places where we are admittedly overstaffed. So we want to look at enrollment and be a good match with where we are with that. So, and we want to continue to do that and repurpose our funds and use them wisely.
Thank you,
Good.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Michelle, you have something?
Thank you first.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. The budget and the expenditures included, does that include the step increase? Or is that without a step increase?
This is a 3% increase.
So the 3%
So we can,
based on the House and Senate proposed,
that's correct.
so it would be 3% without the step.
Or
that
we
we have.
can model it with a step plus to get to 3%. So you recall an average of 2% on each step. So we can do the same math workout for that moving forward. That would create new tables because we're going up to the 3%. But yes, we could model it the same way where the step is included within the 3%.
Okay.
That would be what the board determines to tell us for that final approval that we'll come forward with, and we would have your pay tables either way for you.
And just to follow up on the teacher positions, are they positions that aren't staffed today, or is it, because if we're removing it from the budget, I'm trying to understand how it would save us money if we're reusing them in a different position, if we're actually going down number of people versus repurposing. Can you just explain how that's a reduction if we're not losing people?
So if we have a spot where we know someone's leaving, we've looked at enrollment, okay? And we've looked at enrollment across the division, not just school by school. So if one school has one too many teachers and they're losing a person, we're not going to fill that spot. And
So there's 60,000.
yes,
Saved.
But we're short-staffed, right? So we have a lot of positions that are open. Do we not have a teacher shortage?
We have okay, so like Ms. Mangum stood before you all and said, we have people that are long-term substitutes because they are not licensed in those positions. So the positions themselves, there are people in them teaching. But the reason for that is that because we don't have the properly licensed people. So the positions that we are, again, it's very challenging to have this conversation because they're kind of people specific. So I want to be as transparent as I can without getting in the weeds of who they directly impact. But like if someone is retired, like she just said, if someone is retiring or leaving and we have looked at the enrollment in the place where they are and the numbers don't, okay, you know what, we looked at the enrollment, we don't necessarily need to replace this basket weaving class for next year, then we don't need 3 basket weaving teachers. We can look at the enrollment and there's only gonna be 6 sections of basket weaving next year, then we're not gonna have 3 basket weaving teachers. We're only gonna have 2, and so our budget is only gonna plan for 2. So there's another one. You know, if this elementary school, the class coming up only has 40 kids in it, not 55 kids in it, or 57 kids in it, we only need, 3 sections, or 2 teachers at this grade level, so we can not refill that teacher. So that's the kind of work that we've done already.
Okay.
Yep,
I
makes
think it
sense.
would be helpful to see some details on that when you get to it, obviously closed session, because reducing teacher positions is a tough one for me. I completely understand what you're saying, and there are some areas where we are overstaffed, but for the majority, I think we're understaffed in a lot of the schools. So I would like to see that just so we can go through it.
Sure, but again, we have to be super sensitive to,
Understood.
until we talk to the people, I mean, we kind of want the people to know. I'm happy to have conversations about it.
And then just one last thing. If we're talking saving 400,000 for losing positions that we need, I would rather see everyone get a small increase in their health insurance than lose teachers. So that would be something I would prefer to see. I would rather pay an extra $100 out of my check than have people be, more kids in the class. So that would be my position on that. I have a hard time with reducing teaching staff. Let me, I'm assuming, never mind, it goes into enrollment, and we can talk about that later, but I was gonna ask about South Boston Elementary, but that goes into enrollment, so we can talk about that off. Yeah.
Mr. Potts?
I have a couple of questions that I can't ask now, but I will be asking in the executive session, because it does deal with the ESSER funds and the fact of some staff members that we may be having that may not be here next year, and how that occurred. And I want to get some specific information so that all of us can be aware of what went down, so that this did happen. Because I know it happened because it was mentioned last week, no, not last week, but this month in our board meeting in the library. So I will be bringing it up at that time. I just want to make you aware of it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Buckaloo on the preliminary budget?
So,
Looking for one. May I ask one
Yeah.
question?
Mr. Lloyd?
So just for clarity, if we make the motion to approve the budget tonight to proceed, obviously, we would still be approving the final budget once everything is prepared. This just gives you the authority to get a rough, a fairly well-defined rough draft over to the county to proceed. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion that we approve the budget as presented tonight, with the understanding that we'll approve the final one at a later date.
Ms. Coleman has a question.
Don't hate me, okay? Don't hate me. But if we approve this budget, we are approving cutting 5 teachers and 2 admins.
This is preliminary budget. This is how we are using it as a tool to get to a balanced budget at this
We
time.
will not vote on cutting positions until we vote for the full, like the end of the.
Right.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know these things.
No, that's fine.
You good?
This is just part of our exercise to show you what we will have to do to get to these points without a final version of a budget.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
I believe we had Ms. Shotwell?
One last question. The capital carryover amount, is that, would we be requesting they transfer that now, or is that also pending final decision?
The Board of Supervisor piece,
Yeah.
Yes.
they are putting that down as a request now, but they do know that this is all contingent on a final budget.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if you
Yes,
all,
ma'am, Dr. Husky.
if you all are, if you all wanna, if you are uncomfortable with reductions, which I feel like we have made some, I feel like as far as trying to show good faith effort on showing some efficiencies, and that's the reason why we did it. And as part of that, we also, we had to move the ESSER people, so cutting not cutting, but moving the 9 people, and some of those people, and again, I'm trying to be super careful, some of those people were in line item only still, that they were funded but not necessarily physically in place as part of those 9. But there were still 9 payroll positions that have been moved or notified that it was done, the grant was done. So there was 9, and then if we did an additional 5, but another solution for that is to potentially increase the amount that we're asking for in carryover by just cushion that a small, even a little bit, maybe just increase that by a small, maybe not the full 400,000, but just increase that, because there are a couple positions in there that we just know we just don't need to, maybe 2 of them, 2 of them we just know we don't need to We just know we don't need to fill it. So maybe 3 of them, maybe we say it's 3. If that gives you all a level of comfort, that even sending this as a rough draft, maybe we reduce that number and increase the carryover that we ask for, just to give some level of, okay, we're just gonna change that number a little bit, and before we even send it to the county.
Well, I think early on, you all have said that we would look at retirements and.
That's exactly
the first step.
And make efficient use of our staffing. So again, this is preliminary.
That's great.
We're not putting a solid stamp on anything tonight, but
No.
we'll be glad to entertain anything else.
I'm just trying to offer solutions to give people peace of mind
Yeah.
before, again, what we did today, the reason why we asked Mr. Simpson to come over is because if we had felt like the county was kind of forcing our hand on the governors, then we would have had to actually issue contracts to some folks with some cuts in it, that made us incredibly uncomfortable. So we did not want to get in that situation. So at least we have wiggle room in the Senate, and that would not put us in that situation. So, anyway, I just want to give you all you all have the latitude to tell us to not put cuts in, but I feel like it does show, everyone that we are trying to be very good stewards and be very efficient with the money. And it makes people nervous when you say cuts, but really it's through attrition.
Yep.
It's through efficiencies.
All right, we had a motion, we had a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the preliminary budget, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I think you still have the floor.
I do. If you could. All right, in the same packet, hello everyone again. In the same packet. Had to break it up for a minute. You will find the capital improvement updates. We wanted to give you an update on what we have been able to do in the last approximately 4 years. As you know, the capital improvement plan is a 5-year plan. So the current plan that we have ran from 2023 through 2027. So we reviewed that plan as we were looking at ESSER funding, and ESSER funding allowed specific projects that we could complete using the funding based on clean air, safety, and really, it was clean air and safety.
And it had to touch
Yeah.
students.
Yeah,
Like, it couldn't
that's
be
right.
Things in this building.
Right,
couldn't
it
be
can't-
Maintenance or transportation.
Right.
Facilities. It had to be things that directly touched children.
That's right.
So that's the clarity around the parameters.
Right. So with that, each of you should have a loose handout. I'm calling it a crosswalk. The blue column were the funding that we used from our school capital project funds, and the green column are our ESSER funds. So I just wanted to walk through, as you can see at the very bottom on the back page, from 2020 through current date of today, we have invested $11,689,857.05 into all of our buildings. And that also includes fleet replacement. There's a combination of using school operating funds and ESSER funds. The ESSER fund began to contribute in the year 21-22, so you don't see that pop up until the third grouping of expenses. I've listed all of the related capital improvement expenses so that you would have a good idea of not only the project or the investment of the vehicles, but also the cost and the costs as they increased over time, so that you could see the closer we get to today's date, the more expensive things became. By the end of ESSER, all schools will have HVAC upgrades, which is a huge feat. All schools have weapon detection systems, and we are purchasing the more for the larger schools, which were voted on that ESSER plan the last time that we met. Improved efficiency by removing window units. So all the schools that had HVAC, the window units are out, and that is huge as well. In addition, we upgraded lighting, road and parking lots, roof repairs, and painting. They have all been completed, not at all sites, but at various sites. And finally, attention to student transportation was allowed through ESSER, and that was huge, making sure that our special education students had vans that could pick them up at their homes, making sure that we had dependable buses on the road, and we did upgrade to propane buses. So we were able to get a total, and that number is incorrect, sorry, we went back and recounted, and we were able to come up with 21 buses and then 15 vans. So we also added 7 fleet vehicles. So as you, now we'll go through site by site, just so you can get an idea. If we look at Clay's Mill, we just finished that last summer. We had the HVAC upgrade. We removed the air conditioners and put in new window panes and new blinds. We also continually put gravel in that parking lot, and one day we'll be able to pave that. It is in the plan, but it does get costly to continually put gravel in. Weapons Detection Center, our system was put in at the front entrance. They had their light upgrades. We did a roof repair. Do you need?
Yeah. Ms. Lloyd, you have a question?
Yes, and I'm not sure which way is easier for you, Dr. Buckley. Please tell me.
You want them
which-
all at the end, or?
It doesn't matter to me.
The nature of the question is, I see what we have accomplished for each school, but could you tell us the remaining needs versus, taken from the old plan, what are the remaining needs at each school as well? That's why I interrupted you. I apologize for the interruption. I didn't know if it would be easier for you to do them as you're going
Sure.
through.
I
Or,
didn't bring my laptop, but I had it.
I didn't know which way was easiest for you. Either is fine with me, but I didn't know, again, what your preference would be.
Well, I don't have it prepared to put up on the screen, but we can open up the capital improvement plan that was dropped into the board docs.
I checked it off for you if you want to see.
Oh,
Can I see that? Awesome.
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, we dropped that in so that you could review. I can continue to go through, or we can pull up the capital improvement plan and talk about what needs to be done. That's the way that everyone would like to go.
I'm okay with either. It just helps me to know the remaining needs as well, not only what we accomplished, but what are our big ticket items that remain, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on going through the schools, just because I did want even the public to know what we have accomplished at the schools. And I did it alpha order. So we did fire alarm upgrades and roof repair at Clay's Mill. Then if we go to Cluster Springs, we added a parent road for student pickup, weapons detection, and a fire alarm upgrade. Sinai, we have, Meadville. We have released an RFP to get proposals back to do the HVAC upgrades. That is out in public now, and those are due on the 13th of March. So hopefully we get some very good bids for both Sinai and Meadville. Parking lot gravel was added, weapons detection, lighting upgrade is another RFP that we have out for both Meadville and Sinai. Fire alarm upgrades, and Meadville got stage curtains. At Scottsburg, again, HVAC, weapons detection, lighting, and exterior painting, stage curtains, and fire alarm upgrade. Sinai, the RFP is out for both lighting and HVAC, parking lot gravel, and weapons detection. South Boston, they had an upgrade on their PA system, a weapons detection, lighting, exterior painting, stage curtains, and a playground upgrade. Sidner Jennings had the HVAC, fire alarm, weapons detection, and lighting. The middle school, the boilers and the EVR upgrades were complete. weapons detection in the front and rear of the school, lighting upgrade. They got the marquee sign, fire alarm upgrade, roof repair, and foundation waterproofing. Now, here is a list of all of our fleet replacements from 2020 through 2024. So we were able to provide special education vans, total of 15 from various vendors in the area. Then various vendors for the school bus replacements of a total of 21 buses, and 7 fleet replacements for administrative, maintenance, and transportation staff. And I think that's it on that. Go back one. So if you look through the booklet, I think,
Hang on I think, all right, 1 second. Yes.
you want the book up? You want the question?
Yeah, all right, go ahead, Mr. Potts.
They aren't being eliminated as long as they're usable. We need to maintain them in the fleet. But as we replace with the propane buses heat up almost immediately. And the diesel are the ones that take a while to heat up. So that is really the issue. It's not that it's not working, it doesn't heat quick enough. So the propane, as we replace the bus, those are gonna be nice and probably toasty, more toasty than what the driver would probably like to have. But we won't just chunk them. We have to build up to one-to-one replacement on those. We are, as we buy the older buses, become what we call a spare bus for extra runs, or if somebody needs a bus in the shop or whatever the case may be. You're welcome. So, did
Any
you
other
need the book
questions?
pulled up, or are you?
This was
Mr. Lloyd?
extremely helpful to me.
Okay.
This was great. Thank you, Ms. Hicks.
Looking out for you.
Thank you.
So within this, it is our recommendation that the Facilities Committee revisit the capital improvement plan and make any necessary updates to deduct what we were able to complete with ESSER and refold it. That's our recommendation. I'm not sure if we need a vote for that, but we would certainly submit it over to the Facilities Committee.
Just because, I think maybe when that was created, the stipulations for ESSER, things are changed, and maybe the priorities,
Right.
are different, and I think it would be a recommendation that it's always good to come back to the table about midway through any plan. So,
Michelle?
One quick question. Do we have, I know we have the Joint Facilities Committee, and there were discussions about having our side of the Facilities Committee start to have regular meetings. Has that been scheduled, or do we know what kind of time frame that's going to be on?
no, but it's a really good idea. It's a
Yeah.
really good idea.
Yeah,
We,
I agree.
I think that's a good plan, just to start looking at long-range plans for all the things. So,
I don't know if it needs a motion or not, but I'll make one anyway. So I would recommend, or I move that we have the Facilities Committee review the capital improvement plan and make appropriate updates.
Motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Please. Second, Ms. Comer? Okay.
Are you calling for discussion?
Yeah, any further discussion on that?
No, I would just like to say, I'm sure Ms. Schott was thinking about the same thing, just to ease the board's mind, that we would obviously bring any recommendations back to the full board out of the committee for approval.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Hicks?
Would that mean that you guys, as the facilities committee, would get feedback from all the school principals then to see, what's been done versus what is on this plan, and reevaluate what their top needs are? Because I think the principals have a lot at stake at this too.
I would envision that we would need a lot of assistance from finance. I think basically all that we could do is go through and see what's been done versus what hasn't and make updates to it, but we can't say what the costs are or any of that other stuff. That has to go through the school. So it's very limited what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just have a discussion and make small updates and then bring it back to the full board.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Yeah.
Dr.
I
Hudson.
just think it's really important that board members really have input on what your thoughts are, because it is time to actually start thinking about the next phase of overall facilities and where we're going, and then as we sit down with the facilities group from the Board of Supervisors, that this board is kind of all on the same page. And again, it's just open conversations about all of our buildings, all of our places. So it's just good practice. So,
I would agree. Any other discussion?
I was gonna say, I do thank you, Dr. Buckley, for bringing that information to us. It's very, very helpful to see how far we've come. I mean, I think it's helpful for the public to see it as well.
Yeah.
I'm especially pleased with the bus replacements.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
think we've made significant
think-
gains there.
Yeah.
Wasn't that many years ago where we were really, really struggling in the transportation department. So that's definitely progress.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, so we got a motion, we got a second, so all in favor of the facilities committee going over the capital improvement plan and bringing that back to the board for approval, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. All right.
And Dr. Huskin asked that I bring the item high school construction obligation up to the board as well, which is your very last page. We did want to present a scenario that we were talking about as we were going through the budget. This, as you remember, we have the facilities carryover that expires on June 2024. There is $1 million sitting there. One scenario is of the $4 million that our obligation to cover, that we use $1 million of our facilities carryover to bring down our balance to $3 million, and then propose $500,000 of future carryover for the next 6 years to pay off that debt. Then a second scenario to introduce is starting back up at your $4 million, use the facilities of $1 million, and ask the school board, or ask the Board of Supervisors for $1 million out of that carryover fund to split it in half to bring us down to $2 million, and then that would only be 4 annual payments of $500,000 out of carryover. So she wanted to make sure that you knew we were looking and working, and we wanted your input on this as well. So these are the two most viable options that we have on the up to show you tonight.
Ms. Hicks?
We have about 7 million or so that we'll have from the bond. Can any of that 7 million be used to pay some of this 4 million?
I don't have the answer for that question, and I know that you've asked it a little while back. That has not been answered for us on that piece. And I know that people are extremely busy right now, so we will keep circling back for those answers on that. But tonight I don't have the answer for that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Potts.
You are talking about $7 million from paying for the whole school, the two new schools and the refurbishment of the high school, or we got $7 million coming from somewhere else?
No, this is the $105 million bond that is accruing interest. And there's a pot of money, the interest of money, that we don't know exactly how much, how it can be used. So some of those questions.
It's on the school, it's not a how to that. It's gotta be used on the school.
Well, that's one of the questions, because I'd like clarity from the Board of Supervisors on that, but,
Board of Supervisors got no control of that money. None.
well,
Well, yeah, well, they can say what they wanna say, but they can only do nothing. That's the bottom line, because that money is for this board only.
right, well, and if that's the case, this 4 million is for the high school, so I'm wondering if it can be used for this high school. the amount that we owe on it.
And that's who we're not getting the answer from,
Yes, sir. Mr. Lloyd?
To get the ball rolling, I will make a motion, if you need a motion. I would like to see us move forward pursuing scenario 1 to protect our school board carryover fund to the best of our ability. Every year, we've always had operational savings above $500,000. That's an easy
Yes,
ask, and
sir.
I mean, it really,
That's why.
I mean, it's money that wouldn't even been noticed, unfortunately, that pot of money. But, so I would make the motion that we move forward using scenario 1 as our guiding principle from this point forward.
Motion on the floor. Can I get a second to move? Yes,
Can I ask
ma'am.
a question
Yes, Ms.
before we
Runyon.
vote on that? Do we know how much is still owed on the middle school project and as well as Cluster Springs?
Yes, there is a debt drawdown sheet that I can get to you that was shared at the last facilities joint meeting, where it showed the debt of when it's due and how much is left
I can answer.
Oh, you have
owing.
It's,
Mr. Lloyd?
I think it was 2.2 million until 2027,
for both?
To pay.
through 2027.
bill.
That's the
That's
total.
Okay.
That's the bill.
Could you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
2.2 million through 2027.
that's supposed to be paid by 27, right?
That's
This
correct.
comes off the book.
That project, yes.
Okay. Ms. Hicks?
Yeah, can you clarify the facilities carryover that expires? Does the entire amount
Yes.
expire?
Yes, it was a grant that was set forth by the state, I believe, 2 years ago. And we were under the impression that we could pay for the high school with that as we were going through. It was then found we could only pay for soft costs using that, meaning architectural, anything that wasn't an actual direct purchase of materials. So we had a conversation with the county, and last year it was advised that we just not spend the money and wait and see if we were able to put it towards the high school. So now we're circling back and bringing the conversation to you all. So
What was the total amount on that? Was it 2 million?
it was $2,100,000 to begin with. So we did expend some of it on some of the capital improvement.
Okay. So if we did spend this amount, how much would be left to be used by June? No.
Oh, this is the total amount. This is the end of it. Mhm.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, ma'am. Michelle?
Yeah, I definitely agree with $1 million. I think and hopefully we'll have 500,000 each year. But if we're pulling out $1.5 million out of the capital carryover, I do think we need to protect that as much as possible so that we can hopefully use that for the elementary schools and any other needs that we have. I do think we should push to try and use the interest to pay the $3 million. We've obviously put in a whole lot of money out of our own money, plus the ESSER funds towards the elementary schools and the other schools, the capital funds. So hopefully we can use that as justification for the Board of Supervisors to not have an issue. Then we still have the athletic facilities, so all of it comes together. But I think we do need to save that capital carryover fund as much as possible.
All right.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Runyon.
What is the plan on the $2.2 million bond for the middle school and Cluster Springs? What's the plan to pay that off by 2027?
It's already
It's already-
Go ahead.
it's already scheduled to be
It-
paid.
It's
it's
on.
currently being
So
paid.
it's already in the budget?
Yes.
Yes, and when that falls off in 2027, that remainder, that payment, that $2 million payment is going towards the high school bond. So
Right.
So
It's-
if we use this $1 million to go towards that, would that not put money back into our budget? Would that lessen the payments, or do you have to stay with the same payments?
This is a different payment schedule that we're So the middle school is its own payment schedule. The high school has its own payment schedule. So our obligation is a total of $4 million of the 129 overall budget for the high school, and we have to pay it some way. So the middle school is already being taken care of in the budget, so that this money won't go towards that. It has to go towards the line item for all high school payment.
Yep, we can't do anything about the middle school, South Boston, all that. That's a whole separate debt service that the counties, that bill is, we don't have any control over that or say
Yeah.
over that. That's debt service that's being done by the county. We have a $4 million obligation as our piece to, as when the deal was being done about how we're gonna build this high school. Our piece of it was $4 million. And so we have to figure out how we're gonna get our $4 million piece of it.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Hickman.
The facilities carryover money right now that we're talking about, can that be used for any of the schools? Okay, thanks.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
just has to be spent by June, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, discussions? Got a motion, got a second to move forward with scenario one, which would spread that payment out over 6 years. All in favor of moving forward with scenario one, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no.
No.
This is 3-3. 4-3.
Can you clarify that bullet point? Was your motion including the proposed 500,000 for 6 years from additional carryover funds? Or was your motion just for the million?
No, my motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, my motion was that we follow scenario one and that we use 1,000 from the facilities carryover. I'm sorry, $1 million from the facilities carryover. Be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, $1 million from the facilities carryover, and then we basically finance the remaining $3 million for 6 years.
So the 6 years at 500,000 is 3 million. And we don't have permission to use that 3 million right now. Is that correct? Because the proposed 500,000 for 6 years is coming from where? From the so we have two different carryover funds that we're talking about. We're talking about the state of Virginia carryover funds that was 2 million-ish. And then the bullet point is talking about carryover funds, but that's not state carryover funds. We're talking about carryover funds that are sitting in the Board of Supervisors.
That's ours.
But, so we have to get permission from the Board of Supervisors at this point for the next 6 years to take $500,000 of that out for the next 6 years.
So it's my understanding there would be just a general request to the Board of
Mhm.
Supervisors that
To pay them.
yes, that we pay them using that. And again, I've been on here 6 years, and we've always been well above the 500,000 threshold every year. I mean, well above. So, I mean, really, I don't perceive that, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be an issue or could be an issue. I mean, the board would approve that, the Board of Supervisors.
So the money that's sitting in the Board of Supervisors right now are carryover funds. And my understanding is we'd have to designate it to something, and the Board of Supervisors has to approve that, to use that money.
Ms. Shaw?
Yeah.
And maybe we need to do the motion over again. My assumption was that scenario one, the only action we can take right now is the 1 million for the facilities carryover. The plan would then be 500,000 per year, but we can't make that motion now. That has to be at the end of the year when we see what the carryover funds and actually approve that
Well,
transfer.
my motion was that we use this as a guiding principle,
Okay.
that's the plan of
Right.
plan
That's
of
right.
attack, for lack of a better word.
That's right.
So we're not approving that 500,000 for the next 6 years. That's the plan. Right now, we're doing the million, and then at the end of the year, we'll have
So
to
each-
reassess it.
Each year.
So each year you would, like, so last year we knew we had 1.8 million in carryover. So you would say, okay, 500,000 of that, the best plan forward really is to create an MOU with the county saying
That's right.
the 500,000 for the next, date it from 2020, I would say for FY '25, I think that first million should count.
Yeah,
So from '26 through the next 6 years,
that's right.
you know, the first 500,000 in school carryover funds is designated to meet the obligation of the net $3 million in school construction.
I don't understand why we jumped the gun, because we don't even know if we might already have $4 million sitting over in the bond that we can use for this. So why are we spending this money that could be used for other schools on the high school, when we already have money sitting over there that we could use for the high school? Why are we taking from the elementary and middle schools to pay for the high school when we already have funds for the high school sitting over there? I don't understand that. We're taking from other pots to just pay for the high school, and that leaves the elementary schools and middle school. We're taking $3 million out of our carryover funds for the next 6 years, when we don't have an answer from the bond money yet.
Could we not table this until we get a definitive answer from the board of supervisors on how that money is being spent?
Yeah, it's already been approved at this point.
For us to be able to use the 4 million from the board of supervisors to pay off the high school?
Just the $1 million.
No, it's just 1 million.
I guess that's my question. You know, like Melissa said, if we're still 4 million short from finishing up paying off this high school, but they have the 4 million, why would we allocate 3 million over the next 6 years away from schools when we have no idea what could happen at that point and they may need something?
There's $7 million in a bond that we don't know whether we can use or not.
Yeah.
I mean, how quickly can they get us an answer? What, do we know why it's taken so long for them to answer that question?
It's just budget
We've asked
season, I'm
it several
sure.
times.
We will,
I mean, I feel
Circle
like
back
we need an
again.
answer to that question before we just spend money when we might already have the money.
And we might need that 3 million to maintain teacher salaries and health insurance and security. The way I understood it, the motion was the 1 million. I didn't, that's what I understood. I just wanted to clarify, and that's why I brought it up, because I don't know if it means we're spending 1 million or we're spending 4 million.
That was my assumption as well.
I think the only thing you can spend right now, the only thing you physically possess
Is
is
a
the 1
million.
million.
right.
And my motion was to
That's true.
use that as a guiding principle, that's what we
That's right.
work towards moving forward. But the only money you obviously can spend at this point would be the 1 million that we have.
That is
We
correct.
can't do anything until we would potentially enter an MOU, and we wouldn't do that until we have an answer about that other money. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
We
Thanks.
just want to have all the money on the table.
Yes, sir, Mr. Potts.
Somebody's confused, I think it might be me, but if we have to pay $1 million, we're looking to carry over $1 million, right? That's what we're looking to do, we're gonna carry over $1 million. You're right, over 6 years, that's gonna be 3 million. Okay? That's not 3 million every year, that's 500,000 every year. That's the amount of our carryover that we want to look at to make sure we got at least that much, so we can pay that, right?
That's correct.
So, what are you talking about paying that 7 million, 6 million, or whatever other dollars? Because that has nothing to do with this. That's the money going to the school.
The $7 million the $7 million bond does have something to do with it. We could possibly, they haven't answered the question yet, that $7 million bond could possibly be used to pay the $4 million that is still owed on the high school. They just haven't given us an answer, yes or no yet.
And if we went live, I give you an answer, okay? live, so I don't want to say anything to tell you.
Well, maybe you should ask.
Yep, Mr. Lloyd.
Potts, you get an answer
No,
quicker.
no, I'm glad to give you what's going to go to executive session, so that's the one thing.
Mr. Lloyd?
And I was only going to say, keep in mind, I mean, we have other potential needs outside of just the immediate building that, you know, potentially if you're going to do anything with the athletics complex, athletics period, no matter what, and we know some fields you're going to have to address just because construction of the high school is going to cause you to address those fields. If you immediately get into any of those, that interest money, that pot of money that you need for the athletics is immediately gone. I mean, there's no discussion anymore for athletics, and you're left with, again, some of those are not a wish list, they're needs, because you will, you know, for example, softball is a great example. I mean, potentially you will significantly disrupt the softball field to get into the completion of the high school project. And there are others as well, but I just mentioned softball as probably one of the more obvious ones, because you're slowly getting to that outfield fence now with the drainage ponds and everything else. So I can assure you that I would not have made that motion if we had not, as a facilities committee, especially with the joint facilities committee, if we hadn't looked at these numbers and looked at them. I mean, we thoroughly reviewed all of those numbers.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you, Dr. Bucklew.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Rosenthal? Yes, I made a judgment call. Is that okay? Oh, put it first. Yeah, very first, yes. Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sam Rosenthal from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm an independent insurance consultant. I do not sell insurance. I aggravate insurance companies on behalf of my clients. We try to do the best we can to get premiums reduced and benefits high, and we just keep on keeping on. There is a handout that you have, and it starts off with a page that looks like this. But first, I want to thank the superintendent, the school board, Ms. Bucklew, assistant superintendent there, for retaining our services. We were just really, really excited about it. But the report starts off with a page like this, and it follows with two other pages, which we'll just touch on. Behind those 3 pages, you will have a number of handouts, and these are the financials of the insurance company, which is Anthem, which worked on our renewal on behalf of the local choice. They came up with the 7% rate increase. And I'm sorry to say that the figures are very, very small, so I'm suggesting, if you want, take this information home with you, get yourself a magnifying glass, and you can see exactly what the insurance company did. It's very interesting, to say the least. One of the most important pages is called Renewal Analysis. This boils everything down. The only problem with all this information is that 1 hour after we get it, it's obsolete. So, because everything changes as the claims come in. So the insurance underwriter has to make the call. Usually it's November 1st. She cuts off the claims. Everything that's on board effective November 1st gets thrown into the pot, into the formula. The computer does the workup. She doesn't do it by hand, believe me. And they came up with these figures. So as you look at these figures, you have any questions, just get with Dr. Bucklew. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. What we're looking at tonight are 2 questions regarding health insurance and 1 regarding supplemental insurance. The 2 questions regarding health insurance, which will be found on the 2nd and 3rd page of the original handout, gives us 2 options. The first option is to give me permission to go to the insurance marketplace to see what's out there, to get quotes from as many insurance companies as we can to compare with what local choice has given us. their increase may be 7, 8, 12, 15%, and we have no idea. Or they might come on down and go down to 4 or 5 or 6%. This does nothing but clear the air, so you all know we are trying to do what we can. It has to be on the fast track, mainly because April 1st is the deadline, thanks to local choice, to have us tell them what we're going to do, which plans and all we want. And I have the dates. We'll also have spring break, which I believe starts April 1st, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we have to make everything acceptable, decide what we want to do before, of course, April 1st. The second option we have would be to just stay where we are with local choice, accept the 7%, which amounts to you and the employees will be paying around $8 million a year. Congratulations. Not as nice as what Dr. Bucklew showed, but $8 million is $8 million. We're going to start on the renewal next December, if not earlier, to try and go out. Once again, we're going to go out again and see what's out there. So I'm going to need your thoughts and your guidance on what you would like to do with our local choice renewal. And the other question revolves around our supplemental insurance. We are going to go out, I suggested it, and I believe Dr. Bucklew agrees. We're going to go out for a new carrier or agent for our supplemental insurance coverages. The Pierce Group has it now. We have to find somebody else to take their place. And there are a bunch of companies out there that do the same thing. So I am just going to say, please enjoy all this information. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I doubt you have. We will be getting quarterly changes to this, but I don't think I don't know who we're going to give to the school board every time we meet on a quarterly basis with the insurance company. But it is interesting to see what's going on with where your dollars are going and how that works. So questions,
Yep.
comments, guidance?
Questions from Mr. Rosenthal? No? Okay. So, yeah, so what does the board want to do? Michelle?
Let me try and restate this and see if I got it, and tell me if I got it right or not. So the deadline for us to have a decision on how to move forward is April 1st.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
have to, okay. And the options are either we renew the all right, TLC, the local choice, is
The
that what that
local
stands
choice,
for?
correct.
Okay. So either we continue with what we have for this year and discuss it and do an RFP at the end of the year for next year, or we do the RFP now and get them back in March and make a decision by April 1st.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the
during the week of March 25th, we'll have to make a decision. 25th or 28th, yes.
Okay. And from your expertise, do you have a preference or a recommendation of either renewing this one now and giving more time, or doing it by April
Well,
1st?
my suggestion, I don't give recommendations, I give suggestions. My suggestion would be to accept the renewal that's been presented. 7% is what the average all local choice entities have been averaged together, and they're all getting around a 7% increase. We stay where we are. I don't know if everybody's going to beat 7% because we have to give them all the information, including the claims. But at the same time, if we do that, then we don't have to worry about scrambling and going crazy before April 1st. We got spring break coming on, no telling what else is happening, and it's going to be a lot of work. I mean, I'm willing to do it. I enjoy it. It's fun. So
Wait. Insurance is fun?
it can be. It can be. That's my suggestion. But once again, y'all can do whatever you want.
My opinion would be it's almost March 1st, which means we have 2 weeks to do an RFP and get it back. I don't think that's enough time for us to be considering changing contracts. So I would make a motion that we renew the current TLC and review it again next year, earlier in the year.
Second, okay. Any other discussion?
Make sure I got a clear understanding, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
$8,000 increase. It was, it turns out to be certain.
I mean, the increase in how much it's going up to 7% relates?
Yeah.
Well, it's.
8 million, isn't it?
Well, guy came up with $526, $26,000. $526,000. That 7% generates. However, if you recall, when Ms. Bucklew had her numbers up here, it didn't match that amount because these was a moving target. And the date that this was worked up back in November or December of last year was a little different, but she came real close. Really did. Yeah.
Mr. Lloyd, you have something?
Ms. Shotwell, could you include in your motion potentially, a date next year where we would be presented the information so that we wouldn't be on such a tight schedule the following year?
Sure, I would like to amend my motion for the school board to re-discuss this in November 2024.
Okay.
Second, okay. Any other discussion?
Okay.
Does
Okay.
that allow you time, sir?
Yeah, yeah, we'll be working on it, yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right.
Now, the supplemental, we have to go out on the supplemental. So hopefully y'all will give me the green light to do that, or we're in trouble.
State that.
Can you re-summarize what the supplemental
Oh, yeah,
requirement is?
it's your standalone coverages that the employees purchase on their own. For example, we have accident insurance, there's cancer insurance. When you see Aflac, they'll be one of the ones that we'll be proposing as well, I'm pretty sure. We're with Colonial Life. There's excellent companies, they have some very good products. And we just want to have somebody ready to help us with open enrollment and to continue the coverages that our employees have now without any gaps, without any problems whatsoever, totally seamless turnover.
So, insurance, yeah, not my cup of tea. So, right now, we provide them options and help support them with the supplemental insurance.
They pay for it 100% themselves.
Okay, but we give them information, and that's what we would be doing.
Yes, ma'am. We allow the company to come into our school division to handle the program.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve to allow the supplemental insurance companies to assist our employees.
Is that the
Okay.
RFPs?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion?
Well, we're going to go out to bid and find somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all. It's nice
Thank
seeing-
you.
Nice seeing the school. It's been great. This is unbelievable.
You're welcome back anytime.
Lord, it's throwing money around.
Ms. Hicks.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank
We'll
you.
be in touch.
Did you have a
This-
question?
yeah. Good
Mr. Rhodes?
evening.
No,
No.
just
Take care.
a
Thank you,
comment
sir.
about the budget and insurance. Does this mean that the school board is absorbing the 526,000 increase, or is that separate from what we just decided? I'm
Should be
sorry.
should be a separate motion.
Because right now, we're just saying we have accepted a new insurance policy, but we're not saying who's paying for that yet. But I did see the Senate had 7% built in, which was like 420,000 or something. So it's, when we get to the final approval of the budget, that would be part of what we're approving then. Do I have it right?
That's correct. So when we get to the final, everything will be broken out, and we'll have page after page of explanation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And options, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, you all
Yeah.
decide.
I like that word.
Yeah. Okay, everybody good on the insurance piece? Anything else? Okay, so the new item on the agenda, brought up the incident that occurred, what was it?
Friday.
Friday. Ms. Runyon, if you have that report, could you read it, please?
Yes, I do. And this was actually emailed at 1:21 p.m. That would be today, February 26th. It was actually emailed or forwarded by Dr. Huskins to the entire school board, and was forwarded from Mr. McGregor, which was received, looks like by Ms. Huskins at 11:29. So it was sent within less than 2 hours to the entire school board. It's going to be the fourth report on that email. If I can get my computer to work. The narrative of that is on February 23rd, 2024, at 12:15 hours, School Security Officer Turner was on post in the lobby of the high school. During that time, an elderly woman approached the weapons detection system. As the woman approached the weapons system, she advised that she had her concealed weapon on her and that she sat it just outside the door in her black purse. Officer Turner immediately secured the black purse and requested an administrator. Principal Davis arrived to the scene shortly after. Turner briefed Davis on the situation. Davis immediately requested SRO Cawthorn to the scene. During this time, Security Officer Turner maintained possession of the bag at all times. Turner stepped into the front breezeway entrance with Davis and Cawthorn. Turner opened the front compartment of the bag and showed Cawthorn and Davis the gun. The gun is described as a smaller type revolver. During the conversation in the breezeway, it was discussed that the female had no ill intent and that she had forgotten until entering the school. At this point, SRO Cawthorn advised that it was okay to turn the weapon back over to the owner. The female was brought into the breezeway and given back her purse. BWC was activated during this incident. I just wanted to read this to make sure that the public understood that there was no cover-up. That was sent to all school board members, and I think that it was a delay in that report being read by Mr. Potts, and that we were all told about this situation thoroughly, and I don't feel there was any cover-up to anything.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Potts?
Appreciate you putting that motion in since y'all decided not to accept mine. So I'm gonna say that first. Second thing is that this report right here does not give the same information as the report we got on Friday. Because nowhere on that did it say a bag was left outside. So apparently, did the lady come inside and say that she had a gun?
Yes, sir.
And left the pocketbook outside? Is that what happened?
What she said on what I was giving to you on Friday, I copied the message directly from the principal on Friday. I literally copied his message
Yeah.
and sent it to you all on Friday.
What's the
This-
question? I'm sorry.
What is your, I guess, I feel like you're trying to say that I'm giving a different version of the information. I sent you the exact information I had. This is after they handled the situation, they wrote the report and they sent it to me. This is what I had. It was turned over to law enforcement immediately. There was no threat, deemed it was no threat, and I forwarded you all the information, as you can see, as soon as I received it. Had there been a further need to dig in any deeper, I feel like I would have, or get involved any further, or I feel like if law enforcement had felt like charges were necessary, that's on them.
Okay.
First of all, let me clear something. I didn't say you to do that. You didn't indicate.
Okay.
So then I'm hearing this now, and they're saying that the pocketbook was laid outside. but
I
that's
didn't know that until today.
not- Well, that's what exactly, because that's not the information we had at that time. So my point was, I wanted to find out exactly when she left, did she leave the gun outside in her bag before she came in?
It was unclear on Friday.
It was unclear.
Yeah, in the text, if you allow me. She told security they secured the bag and contacted the principal.
On the inside, right? And the bag was on the outside.
Yes, but
Correct.
that was unclear on Friday.
Correct, that's what the report says, but I think like any situation, it has to be investigated, and all details were not given until the report come
I just
out.
wanna be sure that the information we're getting now is what really happened. Because my question is, if she knew she had the gun on the outside, why didn't she just turn herself around and go back to her car and leave? Because the cop hadn't stopped her.
It states that she was an elderly woman. I think she just simply set the bag down and walked inside and told them it was
I'm sorry
outside.
that she was an elderly woman, that's probably why she forgot she had the gun. But the bottom line was, once you realize you got a gun, shouldn't she have bagged it, turned around and left?
Well, I think if you feel that there should be further investigation, you should probably talk to South Boston Police Department, because that's who's handling it now.
I'm gonna talk to us, because what we have done is decided that there was no ill intent, because the law does not say anything about ill intent.
We did not decide that. The security officer decided that. South Boston Police Department did.
Point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion
Ms.
on
Shaw.
the floor?
I don't think.
I'm asking for an explanation, I'm not asking for no darn point of order. I'm not asking for anything to go down, so I think what you're asking for is totally out of whack. So, we got this right here, which is saying one thing, but we got Friday is saying another thing.
Well-
So you're telling me that the fact that she's elderly and she brought a gun on campus, let alone didn't get it inside the building, thank God, that somebody decided it was ill intent. Does the law say that?
Well, also on Friday, the text started FYI, so I think that was more for informational purposes to let us know what was going on, and then we did receive the full report this afternoon. So
Okay, that's fine. Answer that question. Does the law say that ill intent is part of the reason that you don't give somebody a violation?
I don't think any of us are employed as a law officer, so we can't say
I
that.
would agree.
Okay, so what we're doing is, we're just letting somebody come in, they decided to come in and tell us that she left it outside, which means it was already on school grounds. She didn't bring it inside, which is good, but she still violated the law.
What do you want to see come out of this?
I want you to do what you need to be done.
Ms.
I
Shotwell?
want us to do what we need to be
I'd
done.
like to put a motion on the floor. I would like to move that we close debate on this topic.
Second.
That's good, because what I'm gonna do when you come back out, I'm gonna close it out, I'm gonna close out my second I got to do, because what you deciding, you don't wanna hear.
All right, motion on the floor. We got a second. All in favor?
That goes to you too, Mr. Chair, that goes to you and the rest of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Potts. I appreciate it.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no.
No,
Move we adjourn.
Motion on the floor to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
no, wait a minute, what is supposed to be held in open meeting,
There's no closed session on the agenda that we approved earlier tonight.
so it's still on. So everybody needs to understand that the board just decided that no ill intent was all up to the police. But the fact that the law said that you can't bring a gun on the campus, period. It didn't say in the building, it said on the campus. So she violated the law when she came in. And you decided you don't want to do anything.
I can't do anything.
You can do something.
Yeah.
You can ask them as the chair, and we can ask them as
I'm
the
not,
board.
I'm not a law
I
enforcement
didn't ask you
officer.
to be a law enforcement officer.
Actually, you are.
No, I'm
Okay.
not. No, I'm not. Hold on.
Motion on the table to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?